Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGeek webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is Virtual Machine Backup and DR in the Cloud, and this is the 9th session in the Cloud Computing series. Our guest speaker today is Mr. Devansh Chaudhary, founder and MD, Bionic IT Private Limited. Mr. Devansh Chaudhary is the founder and MD of Bionic IT Private Limited. After working 6 years in US in virtualization technologies, he decided to come back to India, his motherland, to start Bionic IT Private Limited. As the value-add distributor in India, Bionic IT focuses on novel products and services that have the potential to improve virtualization adoption for Indian customers, remove project bottlenecks, false starts, and shorten the POC timeframe. The key criteria is low cost, low complexity, and high capability. Within a span of 1 year, customers in India include the names of GE Intelligent Platforms, Sapient, Siemens, HCL, Shanti Gears, Diadem Technologies, DirectEye, and more. Prior to Bionic IT, Devansh held various sales and technical positions at technology firms in the US, where he created a track record of building and growing companies with responsibilities including sales, support, professional services, and sales operations. Devansh holds a BE in EINC from IET Alvar, an MS in Electrical Engineering from University of Wisconsin, USA. His technical certifications include VSP, VTSP, and CCSP Business Certification. CCSP. Business certifications include Marketing and Strategy from Lambda Business School, USA. Without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Mr. Devansh.
Hi, Moini. Thank you so much, Moini. I really appreciate the introduction. And first of all, I would like to thank TechGeek for providing such a venue for us to take new technologies into the market space. And to give a brief introduction again on Bionic IT, what we focus on is novel technologies in this space. And I am going to kind of straight away dive into something very problematic. In today's market space, people are virtualizing. I'm not going to go into why they're virtualizing because that is a separate webinar altogether. But most of the organizations these days are into server consolidation, storage consolidation, desktop virtualization and consolidation. And when they hit virtualization, the first couple of stages is great. They start, virtualizing their servers, save on space, rack space, units, and avail a whole breadth of, feature set from VMware and Citrix and Microsoft, these players with their hypervisors called ESXi, ESX, and XenServer. Like high availability, like vMotion, XenMotion. These are some of the key features which, give a complete new definition to how IT is run in organizations. So the days of physical servers were limited. People still keep their databases on a physical level, but most of the servers which were just wasting away those memory CPU resources are now being virtualized and consolidated on these hypervisors. So that's fantastic. That's the first step in the IT organizations. But things start slowing down from there. And Bionic IT comes from that point onwards, because we help customers realize that yes, you're now virtualized, but now start thinking about solutions to age-old problems like virtual machine backup and DR, like orchestration, like self-service of your cloud. And I'm going to define this cloud by two ways. One is the internal cloud of an organization, where you have your, let's say, XenServers and ESXi hosts. You virtualize your virtual machines. That is your private internal cloud. And the external cloud, I would suggest in any third-party company, organization like Google, Rackspace, or let's say Amazon, where you can take storage as a service. You can build infrastructure in there, take resources and provision virtual machines. So that's the external cloud. So most of the organizations today who are truly using this capability or a hybrid cloud strategy is that they have certain applications that burst into the cloud. So today's webinar from Bionic IT will be focusing mainly on this paradigm where people have now virtual machines in their infrastructure. They're not physical anymore. Then why are they using physical backup solutions to back up their virtual machines? Because it is more costly, it is more complex, and honestly, it doesn't have the capability to have that DR, to have that backup and restoration capability at that level with such less resources, because virtualization changes the way memory, CPU, does all these things are handled. So today we are going to take a PhD Virtual, which is a purpose-built virtualization specific solution for the organizations. To take a few examples, if you can see the second slide, the sample customer list. PhD ranges from a customer like Save Mart Supermarket who has 200 ESXi hosts versus an organization with 2 XenServers as well. So any big install base on the hypervisors on the internal cloud versus any small scale shop, because honestly when they are purpose built for virtualization, they are more cost effective than legacy products, almost to the point where it is 1/10 to 1/20th the cost. And this is why it is so phenomenal in India, where we are so cost conscious about when we are going into virtualization to save costs. Yes, and we are going into virtualization to avail the benefits which come with virtualization. But then backups become a problem. Backup is and DR is an insurance policy. I don't want to give away all my system administration hours trying to justify and creating backup jobs. I want to focus on other IT tasks which will make me a more agile organization. So this company, PhD Virtual, came up with a very novel solution. They came up with a virtual machine that will back up other virtual machine irrespective of your hypervisor. So if you're running VMware ESXi or Citrix XenServer, it will go in as a virtual machine and start backing up other virtual machines. And this way, you are bypassing any additional hardware or software requirements, because this is just a Linux Ubuntu virtual machine. And how do you control this product? You control it right from within your VMware vCenter virtual center. If you're running Citrix, then you're using it right within the XenServer. So it makes it very easy to use. You don't have to have a consultant, 10 consultants come into your organization, or if you're a system integrator, then you have to hire dedicated, certified, engineers. Instead, hire people who can easily be trained with a short cycle on the POC, as well as, focus more on your IT capabilities than the pomp and show. So if you're looking at the SLAs, the backup times, the compressions, the speeds, then yes, this is the product for you. So what really makes this product better than any other, let's say, agent-based solution out there in the market, which the grandfathers have been using forever? Now, this new approach is called the Virtual Backup Appliance approach, and people, especially who are using scripting, who are using VCPs, who are using agents, are getting into a lot of problems. So this approach truly resolves most of these issues, which we're going to discuss more. So if you're running a private internal cloud and you are considering backup and DR into your private cloud, which is your internal organization, then this appliance is the virtual machine which will deploy in there. It will take image-based block level backup of any virtual machines. So image level backup will be done, and scaling it is not a problem. You just deploy another virtual machine. So if you are a virtual shop, you're running VMware, you're running Citrix, then provisioning virtual machines is something which is very common to you. Then you can easily scale from one VBA to multiple VBAs without getting in additional pieces of hardware, additional media servers, additional backup servers. And so your scalability in the organization becomes much, much better. Your services become better. Let's talk why not just architecture, but the way the backup happens is better as well in this purpose-built virtualization only solution. And when we talk about this, people are generally used to fulls and incrementals, and we take the example of 100 gigabyte source VM data with 10% change rate on a daily basis. So with fulls and incrementals, I'm creating a full every week, once a week, and your total backup storage space is 400 gigs. With fulls and differentials, if I have to restore from a differential, I also have to use the previous full and the differentials of the past few days from that full. So the amount of total space used is 600 gigs, but lo and behold, with PhD Virtual and a product which does image-based backup solution like PhD, where only incrementals are happening from the first time onwards. So the first backup is a seeding. It will remove the null space, the white space. Only the data is then compressed and taken in as the initial seed to the data store. Any next consecutive changes which comes in, if you're running VMware, then VMware has CT, change block tracking. It will tell what has changed since yesterday. I do not need to back up all that information again and again every time. So the amount of compression is far more better than the legacy approach as well. So how does the advanced feature set come into play? Let's take the organizations that are spending tons and tons, and there's a lot of information in the cloud about big data. What is this big data? Organizations that have a lot of hardware to sell. They use this data deduplication as something that we will collect all the data in your organization. We will perform deduplication at the storage level, and we will reduce the amount of total duplicate data in the organization. Let's assume, especially with vendors, what they do is when they're taking the backup, they take the backup of all the VMs, stream it through your network, even the duplicate data. If you have 20 Windows servers or virtual machines, then you're taking the OS level information again and again, and you don't need to do that. So with PhD Virtual, this deduplication is happening right on the source, right where the snapshot occurs, and the virtual machine, snapshot is being read at a block level. PhD Virtual, this product will recognize that I already have this block from virtual machine number 2 or 3 from a past backup. It's still in the retention on the data store, so it's still on the backup storage. I don't need to back it up. So you're saving on network, you're saving on storage, and you can use any cost-effective storage from the market. And as you can see from this architecture, the only thing holding this back is your network bandwidth and the read and write speeds of your backup storage target. This backup storage target can be any network attached storage or even your direct attached storage, your SAN. So when you're running an ESXi or a XenServer, you can have a network attached storage which is a CIFS, an SMB, or an NFS. And you don't need any advanced features on it. You just need a fast storage and good network connectivity, and you can deploy multiple VBAs that do these backups to the storage. And speed is no bar. So you don't have to shut down your virtual machines. Let's talk about organizations like Sapient that have 60 terabytes of data to be backed up. The weekends will be compromised on the system administrator level. You don't have to shut down the virtual machines to do this backup. The memory resources, the CPU resources, all those things matter. And that's where the agent-based solutions fail, where a VBA approach is better. Like I mentioned, with a small footprint, on the virtual backup appliance, as compared to putting in more hardware. Let's talk about, products that are extremely heavy in terms of what type of media server there is, how much storage in terms of scalability. If I have 4 hosts, I need more 4 hosts. I need to expand my virtualization architecture, so I need to expand my backup architecture. So those problems hold organizations back. They hold, and when we deal with our system integrator partners like RICO, like Frontier Business Solutions, and Alliance Process, or HCL, as a matter of fact, we get to understand that these are some of the bottlenecks that bring down the organization from speeding up on their virtualization. So a product like this, PhD Virtual, can actually give value to the system integrator shop or the system administrator to justify more virtualization in the organization and get a better return of investment. How do you meet your backup window for your scalability? Let's talk about that. If you suppose in front of you there's a slide where I'm showing a resource pool. No matter what you're running, let's say ESXi or XenServer, you have 3 hosts on the left, and they're connected with a SAN, of course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deploy one VBA, which is a virtual backup appliance. It'll take 8 gigs of local disk space on the SAN. I'll give it 2 virtual CPUs, and I will just import it into the virtual center or the XenServer as a VM, turn it on, give it some backup storage, like I said, NFS or CIFS on a network attached. We don't want the backup to reside on the SAN as a best practice, because if you lose your SAN, you lose your production data. I still have the network attached storage device, which is a dumb device, a fast device, and without any features. I can still restore completely my entire infra, within a couple of minutes instead of days with this product. If I have to scale, let's say my virtual machine information is too big. I just can't meet my backup window with one VBA. Nothing stops me from deploying 2 more VBAs. So depending on the amount of data you have, depending on the amount of network bandwidth you have, or depending on the amount of resources you have, you can always scale in your organization on what would be the best amount of VBAs. And the license policy of this product will not stop you. It's not based per appliance. So, scalability and high availability are some of the features which impact organizations or even SIs to complete virtualization projects. And this is where this product comes in like a breeze, installs within 10 minutes, because that's how long it takes to install a virtual machine, and start running backups right away. And this level of simplicity is what makes it highly scalable and highly available. Now, everybody does backup. A lot of technologies out there will tell you, we are the best backup solution. We have, excellent compression. We are very fast. And yes, PhD Virtual Company also says pretty much on the same lines, 25:1 compression on virtual machine data. And that's excellent in terms of industry-leading compression. In terms of hardware devices, that costs thousands of dollars. But with this product, all this is available within the same solution at a very affordable cost for the Indian segment. But when rubber meets the road, the true test of a backup solution is when recovery happens. And this is what scares most of the system administrators, that when I have to have a recovery of a full virtual machine, 300 gigs, how much time will I have to spend? How many steps will I have to do? I have to open a manual. I have to call the SI or some company and assist me in this process. Not anymore. With a product like PhD Virtual, which is purposely built, within a couple of clicks, you can recover and restore a full VM. It will go out there, recover all the data from the data store, and restore it where you want it. Quickly restore virtual disk. So you can select, I have, let's say, one VM with 4 VMDKs. Partitions, disk partitions, or VHD partitions on the XenServer. What I can do is I can select the one I want and not restore all of that. So instantly recover an application object. So if I have a mailbox recovery to make, I don't have to restore the complete thing. I can just go select the mail and restore it. And not just that. It's fully aware. You can turn on VSS. So application databases, YSing, most of these features, truncating of logs as well, can be done to support your organization's needs. These are some of the questions that admins always have, that how will the product behave when it is dealing with the databases and high transaction applications. So again, excellent tool for those organizations as well. And if I have to recover a file or a folder, out of a 300 gig, 400 gig virtual machine, I don't need to restore all that 400 gigs. I just need to restore the MBs or KBs I have on that file or folder. So I browse into the backup, select the file, and restore it wherever I want. So this is what is changing these days. And it's no longer required for you to spend, for a DR drill, you have to come on a Saturday and basically, have a shutdown process and do the DR drill. All this can be automated with a product like this, PhD Virtual. Now, another important aspect is to get your data off-site. The traditional solutions to get the data, quickly and reliably off-site can become costly. In terms of, since the legacy data protection solutions would not effectively satisfy these needs, and especially tape. With tape, we are looking at all the elements trying to harm that data, as it is a technology which is currently and slowly kind of being phased out, and people just have tape as a compliance. I need tape for audits, I need tape for this. So getting the data off-site is still important, but tape might not be the best solution for you. It is good for compliance, so you can always have that, but truly recovering from an off-site data or getting the data off-site in a reliable manner, in a cost-effective manner, is something you need more solutions for. And this PhD Virtual tackles that with its replication feature, which is built into it. So for disaster recovery, what I can do is I can set up a PhD Virtual VBA appliance on the replication host. Let's say I have a site in Delhi, which is my production host, and I have a site in Mumbai, which is my replication host. So the VBA will look at the network attached storage device in Delhi and pull all the blocks on a scheduled basis to restore those 4 VMs on the replicated storage in Mumbai from Delhi. And why this is so efficient as compared to other solutions, because when something changes in Delhi in terms of VM data, only the changes, only the incrementals forever changes are being deduplicated on the source, compressed on the source, and then pulled away as the least common denominator. So only the least amount of information is being transferred, and it's a LAN-friendly solution as well. So it's being replicated to Mumbai and being auto-restored without your intervention. So when Delhi goes down, you can just turn on those virtual machines in Mumbai and the user will not have any problems. So let's say you still have to go to tape for compliance. What you could do is you can have the VBA go from the backup storage to a temporary storage like a Windows tape server. And instead of getting all those agents, tape agents, onto your production VMs, take away memory, CPU, get into the service console, get into the DOM0 on XenServer. So those are resources which are required by the hypervisor for performing functions on virtualization benefits. Now, if the agent comes in and takes away those resources, forget about getting those features. Your investment in virtualization is being hampered by your strategy in backups. So a solution which is Citrix ready is VMware ready, and it will help you offload that tape agent from your production VMs. So D to T, from disk to tape, will be your strategy, where you offload an OVF. So Open Exporter is a functionality in PhD Virtual where it will export the backups in an unproprietary format. Other backup solutions might use proprietary format, but PhD can have the capability to restore into an OVF, which anybody can use. You can take it to tape. You don't need and ship that tape off to Mumbai. And in Mumbai, you don't need PhD Virtual to restore from an OVF. You just need to import it into your virtual center or XenServer, and you should be good to go with the OVF format, Open Virtual Machine format. And let's talk about some DR scenarios on the private cloud. When we talk about DR scenarios, we don't want to sit there and start creating restore jobs. PhD Virtual kind of automates that process with just couple of clicks. You can have a masked virtual machine restoration where each VBA can do simultaneously 8 backups or 8 restores. So 8 virtual machines can be backed up simultaneously, or 8 virtual machines can be restored simultaneously, and that is done by just one VBA. So you can have a couple of these VBAs to do a DR scenario where these VBAs will jump into action, and start restoring, all your production virtual machine data without you coming in the middle and start creating backup or restore jobs just like backup jobs. So the way PhD handles this container-based approach on the backup, this mass DR restore, it makes us a very unique solution in terms of handling it, in terms of a true disaster, where you need a solution that will be simple and will help you and be more efficient in that hour of need. Now let's come to the public cloud. A lot of organizations, especially who are developing into the gaming industry, they don't know how much memory, CPU resources their application will need, and they prefer to go onto the cloud. Let's say they're hosting on the Amazon or Rackspace or even Google. So what happens is that not only that, organizations who don't want to go the tail route, who do not want to have a separate DR site. When I say a separate DR site, like building a separate DR site with all that storage hardware, and everything might take away all those resources as well. But DR as a solution is also being offered by a lot of organizations and our partners, ISP partners. And they bring down that cost because storage has become a commodity on this for 10 cents per year for 1 gig, and it's just so inexpensive and so efficient that organizations are using the cloud, which is the public cloud like Amazon or Rackspace, to build their own DR site. And what they're doing is they are transferring their backups, the local site backups, to these and offsite copies into the cloud. So from local backups, as you can see from down there, to offsite copies into the cloud, wherever, if you have any of the major three, Google, Amazon, or Rackspace, you can store your backups there. In future, PhD Virtual is also announcing, and this capability is already existing. So you can have a DR site with PhD Virtual for less than 5,000 rupees a month, which is an excellent price for this market space. And this gives you an idea, on how cost-effective PhD Virtual can be for the Indian market space. And and this is unlimited virtual machines. It's doesn't matter on how many sockets, cores, CPUs, or memories you have. The licensing model works on a per physical ESXi host or a XenServer host basis. So again, an excellent strategy in terms of capturing the Indian market. So we definitely leverage this capability, which is just recently announced last week, to integrate and take away your backups on a changed basis. Now what happens when you have to recover? When you have to recover, let's say you lose your network attached storage here, you still have your production storage and you want to roll back. So rollback availability is there. You don't have to restore the complete 300 gig virtual machine from your Amazon storage back to your production site, because that streaming might take time. So the ideally what PhD Virtual does is it takes away only the changes required for that rollback and sends those to you on the production site and then restores your virtual machine. So this way you're not taking the 300 gigs, you're just taking that megabytes of changes for that rollback. So excellent in terms of, it has been fine-tuned for an organization to work in the cloud space, and as a feature benefit, working towards the roadmap, PhD Virtual has announced that within this year they're going to announce DR in the cloud as well, where you can have a complete restoration from your archive into Amazon or Rackspace themselves. So you can restore the backup there and then and run your application from the cloud. So excellent in terms of price point, excellent in terms of feature set, and this is truly the way we want cloud to go. Both private, reduce the total cost of ownership, increase the virtualization capabilities, increase backup speeds, decrease the amount of storage I will be using to store these backups, pay less for hardware, because virtualization is there to reduce the amount of hardware you're having. Instead of 20 physical servers, I'm using 3, and I've consolidated all of those physical servers and 20 virtual machines on those 3 physical ESXi or XenServers. Now, why do I need additional hardware for backup? So truly, we need to change the way we think about our virtual footprint. and integrate our virtual backup solution with our existing physical solution. So again, how do I, again, the solution helps the admins in terms of course, so the basic standard which is there with any solution like, for DR or backup is your email reporting capabilities, the health check monitors or visibility into what type of snapshots are being, occurred, your post process or pre-process before the scripting happens on the querying of the database retention. Those are a couple of the things where you can see what processes are happening, and through this VBA health management interface, it goes right into your XenServer as well. Now, I would at this stage like to take questions because truly we've covered a lot of technical aspects on how the industry is changing, the way it looks at backup and recovery in private clouds and as well as in public clouds. So any questions as of now on this great product which Bionic IT has brought in India, for most of the organizations that are looking into virtualization in IT. So Mohini, thank you again, and open for questions. Okay, I have a question, and the question is how much resource does this virtual machine appliance use? So basically, this is a Ubuntu Linux virtual machine, and you need to you go to phdvirtual.com or go to bionicit.com, and you have to download this product, 400 to 500 MBs, and within this product you will download package, you will see the OVF or the VST which you import, and once you import it you have to give it local 8 gigs of local disk space, 2 virtual CPUs and 2 gigs of RAM, and you should be good to go. Now another question from Prasad is how is it different from VMware snapshot functionality? Prasad, very good question, and especially not just VMware. I've seen a lot of Citrix users, Citrix XenServer users also, have problems with the snapshots, because image level, snapshots, organizations take snapshots in a time to save, any virtual machine data at that given point of time, and I have to roll back to that snapshot. But what I'm doing is, if I have a 20 gig virtual machine, I am taking a 20 gig virtual snapshot and it's lying around. VMware is a lot more efficient in this regard, and with Citrix. So what I'm doing is, with a product like PhD Virtual, I'm only taking in megs of changes from my last backup of that virtual machine, and not taking a complete snapshot and storing that snapshot. This way I'm wasting away all that storage. To give you an idea, a customer requires 75 years worth of patient data. It's a pacemaker company, so as a compliance they need to hold all the data of their customer for up to 75 years. Now can you imagine how many snapshots would it require, how much storage would it require to store all that information if the client has 2,000 to 3,000 customers? Now what they're doing is they're using PhD Virtual, and a lot information on the OS level, on the Windows side, if they're running Excel sheets, it is highly compressible, and they only store the deduped data. So this way, it's far more efficient than just snapshots. Then you're not wasting away your production storage space, because snapshots happen on your production storage. Again, another question is, can I have physical to virtual conversion capability with it? From Shrikant. Shrikant, again, a very good question. Physical to virtual is, like I mentioned, is something which you have to consider when you're virtualizing. when you're running virtualization, VMware and Citrix both have tools to kind of convert your physical application into a virtual machine. So these tools are readily available from these organizations. There are a lot of good system integrators. You can contact us. We can put one of our partners, system integrator partner who is a VMware partner or a Citrix partner who does virtualization, in touch with you, or you can go into their own education portals and find out what it takes to go from B to B. But again, Citrix and VMware would be the right organizations to contact. How, once you're virtualized, how can you reduce your scalability? How you can improve your orchestration, provisioning, monitoring, backup? This is when Bionic IT comes in with its system integrators and helps you there. I have another question from Akash. I wanted to ask, what is the future of cloud computing in a startup IT industry? Very good question, Akash. See, in a startup organization, people do not have the right resources to spend on a full-fledged IT environment, a full-fledged IT administrator. So the future of cloud computing is no longer future. It has already begun, where organizations, like Control-S, like Reliance, like Tata. These are big players right now who are offering IT as a service, and what they're doing is they are leveraging virtualization. They provide the right resources you need and pay-per-use given to you as the end user customer who wants to do, let's say, development, who wants just to have application delivery. If let's talk about a banking sector where they're running an application, where we recently assisted DPK Technologies, or in Oriental Bank of Commerce, where they need a certain application going to their senior management. That application can be delivered to any mobile device using a tool which is already there for pay-per-use. So cloud computing, according to us, will become a commodity rather than anything technical. And for startup ITs, it is just a service which they take. What their processes, what they're doing in terms of development or access, or what application they're using, that's completely up to the service provider on how it leverages products like VMware, products like PhD, products like Starwind, products like Goliath, bring down the cost of their managed services and everything, break it down into 12 months and give it as a service to the end user customer. That's what is already happening in the IT industry, where you don't have to set up a data center of your own. Just take it on pay-per-use, just like your electricity bill. I have another question from Dinesh. If we need to restore a single file folder mailbox from D2 backup, do we need to rehydrate an entire VMDK? Where does this rehydration happen on the appliance? Now, Dinesh, this is a fantastic question, and a lot of vendors handle it in different ways. Again, source and destination does play a big role in deduplication. Do you require additional hardware? Also plays a big role, because generally you require a lot of hardware when all this has to take place, what you're asking. With DHT virtual like solution, it doesn't. Let's assume I did a backup of a 300 gig virtual machine and I need a PDF which is 1 MB out of that 300 gig virtual machine. I will browse into the backup, and the amount of time it takes for you to copy from that PDF from C drive to D drive is the amount of time it will take the PhD VBA to restore it from your storage destination data store to whichever host you want, or whichever destination you want. So I hope that answers your question. Another question from Shrikant, Shrikant Chota. What is recovery time objective you promised for 100 VMs for organizations like us? Now, this is a fantastic question. Most of the organization want to reduce their recovery time objectives. The amount of time it takes for me to come back with my promised application to the user, again, PhD Virtual has some very advanced features which I was unable to cover today. And especially on VMware, what it does is it turns on the backup on the data store itself. So the user does not experience any downtime at all. And this is instant restore. This instant restore capability where at the, let's say a banking application, high transaction application was happening during daytime, or let's say Make My Trip was doing a lot of booking on their flights during daytime, and there was a DR scenario where the server went down. What the administrator did was turn on the virtual machine backup of that running application and give access to the users over there on the storage itself. So there was just a 5-second drop or 1-second drop, and the user still, and everything, transactions are happening there. And during nighttime, when there is less traffic, they used PhD replication, or called PhD motion, to merge the instance running on the storage data store where backups are happening to the production storage where the original virtual machine was, and then it merges the two. If you have storage vMotion capability, then you don't even have to turn it off during nighttime. So what PhD gives you the capability during a disaster, when it's a time where you cannot have the application offline. You can't spend the time, even 15 minutes to restore a 300 gig virtual machine. So RTO will depend on your data, RTO will depend on your application, and RTO will depend on how you are recovering and where you are recovering. What is the read-write of your speeds of your storage target, how many VBAs you're using. And I can promise you one thing, it's going to be better than 10 times better than your legacy vendor. If you take a physical backup solution, it's going to be 10 times better or faster than that, because that's what we've seen on average in the industries with customers. And we've seen sizes up to 1200 VMs, so anything from 10 to 1200 virtual machines, or that's not a problem at all for an organization like PhD Virtual, or a product like PhD Virtual. Another question I have from Dinesh, in the appliance world, who are the competitors for PhD Virtual in India or global? See, the market has a lot of mature products out there. Physical backup solutions people generally have, which they used on the legacy side. And I'm never in the business of naming products. I can always take the names of the top agents out there in the market space who have rebranded themselves for virtualization. But we take that not on a public a podium like this one. We will talk to you on what is the issue you're having with that legacy product. What's something you don't like right now, and maybe we can try to reduce that issue with use of an integrated policy or an integrated approach with PhD Virtual on your virtual side, and the agent-based solution on the physical side, and have a hybrid strategy to reduce the total organization's RTO and RPO, recovery point objective and recovery time objective. So most of the virtualization ready organizations are in banking heavily, and especially when you don't want to put agents into all those virtual machines. When you were running physical servers, it was great. You had a lot of memory, CPU, to schedule these things. But in today's world, when VMware Citrix are actually fooling the application into understanding that it has been provisioned, the memory, it has been provisioned, the CPU, and all these things which come with virtualization, you don't want agents to come in and take away those provisioned resources. So again, a vague answer. I won't be able to name the competition out there, but we can take this on a one-on-one basis once you call Bionic IT. Which one is better virtualization between VMware and Citrix? Akash, this is a fantastic question, and you will find a lot of information out there. Again, it depends. If you look, what is your selection criteria? Are you looking at cost? Are you looking at functionality? Are you looking at maturity? Are you looking at what is your selection criteria? I'll tell you, we see, and we come from a very unbiased approach because we deal with both, and both are partners. We see a lot of internal IT organizations doing VMware. We see a lot of ISP partners, cloud providers doing Citrix, and it's fantastic how these two guys are changing the way people look at their physical hardware and infrastructure. So again, you have to find your selection criteria for these two, and I'm sure you will make a decision there. From Siddha Reddy, may I know the difference between VMware and Citrix virtualization technology? Both will help you in various ways in terms of consolidating your servers, in terms of your desktop, virtualization, consolidation. So, like I answered, Akash, you'll have to go on to understand your current infrastructure. You have to go on to understand your future vision and how you want to achieve that, leveraging your selection criteria or your requirements. From Arindam Saha, how is the data segregated or stored? So I don't know if I'm getting this question directly, but I'll try to answer from what I am understanding, Arindam, is that how is this data, how does PhD differentiate between which backup is which in the data store when it has been deduplicated? So this deduplication technology, is something where it takes away those unique blocks only and stores it into a block table. Any duplicate block I already have in the block table, so I'll just put a marker there. And this is how PhD Virtual will know if I need to restore 300 gigs, I only backed up 2 MBs today. When I used vStorage APIs on VMware tells me what has changed today. Today, let's say 50 megabytes have changed on my 300 gig virtual machine. I have already taken the first backup the first time I had backed it up. So I will use the markers from the previous backup and I will use the current one, which are the new changes, and I will restore that complete virtual machine using PhD Virtual. And this is done automatically by PhD Virtual. That's why, they have been awarded various awards like VMware and Citrix Energy, and this is what makes a product so unique for virtualization. I hope that answers your question on how the data is handled by PhD. Another question from Praveen Kumar, and this is like, what will happen if I lose the PhD virtual machine? If PhD failed and we need to restore the backups? Very good question, Praveen. Now, let's say your PhD virtual machine was there with your production VMs when you gave it 8 gigs of local disk space, right? This product will not store any metadata. You don't need this PhD virtual machine to do anything. You just need to you just need this to read the blocks and send unique blocks to the network attached storage device. So let's say you lost your SAN, your production VMs, and PhD virtual machine. When you have to come back in a DR scenario, you import the PhD virtual appliance again from your download package and show it where you've done the backups and ask it to re-index. So basically it will ask you, do you want me to re-index the backups from that network attached storage device from my NFS target? Yes. And it will have all your backups up there, and then you can perform a mass restore there. So within 3 clicks, you basically went from from no PhD virtual machine to getting all the backups from your network attached storage device to your production storage. I hope that answers your question, that no metadata is stored on the PhD virtual appliance itself. If you have more questions regarding that, you can always contact us at sales@bionicit.com. You can visit us on Bionic IT website, and our contact numbers are there as well. And I have another question. What data protection strategies are offered in cloud computing? So Akash, in cloud computing, depends on how you're defining it. The way I define it right now is a commodity service, and how you have built that cloud into your organization, or if you're taking it from another organization outside, so as a service. So the external cloud and the internal cloud, or the hybrid approach. And when you're running internally, you want to reduce the total amount of backup. Your backup window is generally your concern, your restoration time is your concern, and in order to reduce this, you need third-party backup solutions like PhD Virtual. The difference will lie, on how much hardware you will need, how much software you will need with other products versus just importing a virtual machine appliance with PhD. Now, from Nirmal Kumar, we have how many VMs can we back up in one appliance? Now, Nirmal, you don't have any limitation there, because if you're running a shared storage infrastructure, you have 30 virtual machines on 3 ESX hosts. You can back up all those 30 if they're all small virtual machines. The data is less. If you want to reduce your backup window, you can deploy another VM which will be able to back up other virtual machines. And unlike other products which do one virtual machine after the other, so it's a sequential backup, PhD Virtual will back up 8 virtual machines in parallel per VBA appliance. So doesn't mean it will only back up 8 VBAs, 8 virtual machines. Once it has finished one VMDK or one virtual machine, that empty thread will pick up another virtual machine in the policy or in the backup job. So what you are in essence doing is you're simultaneously doing 8 virtual machine backups per VBA at a given point of time, and as soon as one thread finishes, it will pick up another. So it's all happening in parallel. I have a question from Kamalkar Reddy. Will it support Linux KVM based virtualization? Nice question, Mr. Kamalkar, but PhD Virtual as of now supports VMware and Citrix XenServer. The next hypervisor on the roadmap for them in 2013 is Hyper-V. They already support cloud, but KVM is something which is still under consideration and on the roadmap, but not on the priority. So on the priority, it will be getting the DR recovery in the cloud and Hyper-V for PhD Virtual as of now in the next 6 to 12 months. Although KVM is on the roadmap, and even Oracle. So from Prasad, I have a question. How is it different from VMware backup products? Great question, Prasad. VMware used to use VCB, Virtual Consolidated Backup, before. Now, this required a proxy server, additional third-party software like, agents or, Vision Core at that time used to go on top of that, VCB, Virtual Consolidated Backup. So it was a 2-3 mix of solutions for taking a backup or snapshot. Now, what has VMware changed after they've seen PhD Virtual come in 2006 and changed the way people look at? They've also come out with a similar solution. They've come out with VDR, Virtual Data Recovery, and this is based on PhD Virtual, but it's not really as scalable as PhD Virtual. So a lot of times we try to go the same way we have taken the hypervisor. Let me take all the solutions from VMware and not look around just because I'm buying the hypervisor. But VMware has matured on the hypervisor, but not necessarily on the backup front or the monitoring front or even the cloud orchestration front. You can reduce the total cost of ownership of your data center where you're running VMware shop by just virtualizing over there on VMware and taking separate products which are much more mature, much more scalable. And let me take an example where VDR limits you at certain points of time and during the day where you cannot achieve backups or perform backups. So these type of limitations stop an organization, plus the licensing requirements which are there to buy a license which is inclusive of that. So great question there, and Prasad. And finally, I have Dinesh again. What kind of encryption is used when backing up to the cloud? Is it secure enough for the destination to the cloud, such as that data is not accessible to somebody else? Yes. Excellent question, Dinesh. PhD Virtual does encrypt you. So all you will need is your encryption key to back up and restore to the cloud. Only you will have access to your backups, and this can happen in your private cloud as well as on the external cloud as well. So without encryption, we are setting ducks. So PhD Virtual has that built in. There is no additional cost, and you just need your encryption key. So don't lose the encryption key. That's all. Server 2012 is from Akash. I have Server 2012 is integrated with cloud features. It seems. What do you think? And can you explain it a bit? I'm going to repeat this one. Server 2012 is integrated with cloud features. And what do you think, and can you explain it a bit? I'm sorry, Akash, I'm unable to kind of understand the question. Maybe we can take this offline, and you can basically call into our sales number. If you can see my screen, you can we'll point you to the right system integrator. As we are a distributor, we'll help you with the product. We'll get it all the questions answered, as well as installation or any other resources you might need, pricing, all resources with this product, or any other, as a matter of fact, which stage of virtualization you're in. Today's webinar was on virtual machine backup and DR in the cloud, and that's what we tried to do today. Do visit us on our Facebook page. We have a Facebook page on there for our customers and our partners. We go on trainings, any events we share on Facebook. We also have our a LinkedIn page where you can see the products apart from our website, and do some more research. I would like to thank everyone today for their patience, and their audience. They took out their valuable time, from on Monday. And this is fantastic. We've had some overall more than 200 speakers, audience today. At this time, I would like to transfer it back to Mohini. Mohini, you still there with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you so much for the insightful presentation, Mr. Devansh. I'm really thankful to you for conducting this webinar. It was indeed a great session. I would also like to thank
you again.
All our participants for the support in making this webinar a success. The recording of this session would be available on techgeek.com by today evening. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Okay.